very interesting question, and it's more about your style of functioning. You must have done hundreds of operations in India or in abroad, and many people call you as a more of a solo flyer. So, sir, what makes Ajit Doval different from others?
Well, it is true that is, I have handled large number of operations because I was posted all my life in that. Actually, very young in my career, I don't know for what reasons, they thought that, well, I can go for the operations, and thereafter I got remained in these games till I became the chief. But actually, I have never given it a thought that in any way, whether I am different, I feel that every human being is different. God's each creation is unique. If two fingerprints cannot be same, how can be the two individuals or the personalities be identical? They have got to be different. I may be different too. But maybe the product of my own upbringing, education, experiences of life might have certain anxieties or certain, not anxieties, certain type of peculiarities might have cropped in. And as I get the feedback, you are right. That is generally that people think that I'm a solo these things and I try to do these things. Well, it is sometimes said in a negative way. Sometimes people tell it in a positive way. But there is one thing. Why I have been more of a solo operator. I think that, well, I can probably know my circumstances. What I can risk, why should I make others risk? Their circumstances, maybe that they will do it by their orders or by this thing like that. But when I do it, it is my belief. Let them do the things that they believe in. So for me, a very strong belief or a commitment in what I am going to do, I know that I will be able to do it. He may be doubtful. And in Sanskrit we say, Shanshayatma Vinashaya. If you are in doubt, you will never succeed. Particularly an operator. So whatever I do, I am never in a doubt. I know I have decided to take this path. I have done my due diligence. I have done the research. I have done the thing. I have prepared myself. I have equipped myself. And thereafter, I will do that. So that may, there are some people that will be fine. That will, they will take it as an order, but their commitment and their belief level is not same. Secondly, I would not like others to take the risks for which totally my creation, my mess. I can a lot of things are talked about, these things that some books have been written, Mr. Marva has also written about it. That is when we had a lot of these things in Golden Temple. And about 300 terrorists with these things had gone inside, and then they were committing these things, others, and going inside. And then we had to take this thing, the Operation Black Thunder. At that point of time, well, somebody had to go inside with whatever cover, with whatever identity. And while I was the head of operations, I don't have to be this myself. I could have to. I know that the chances of his survival are very little, particularly when you go for a long period and come and go again and again. So they told me that, well, sir, we will accompany you. I said, nobody will accompany me. I will become more vulnerable if somebody is with me. There is another thing, in intelligence operations, you are the safest if you are alone. Because nobody can contradict you. Even if you are caught, it is your lies that will pass off. And if you are too smart and intelligent, you will be able to take them around and think, you do not know what the other man has said. Not that he is wrong, but he is different. So they can find the loopholes. But anyway, being a solo fighter is one. The other thing that has been this, which has been talked about me, is that there is a lot of surprise in the operations that I take. There is one, this thing in which I had been working is, I never repeat the same thing twice. I have never, I think, I started this racket when I was in my 20s, and now I'm 75. I have never done anything twice. I always liked doing everything differently, as if it's the first thing that I'm doing. Every operation, whether big or small, is the first of my life. So I do it with that spirit of a new child, as he starts it. Because then you do not depend and you do not have any assumptions. If I was lucky last time, what is the guarantee I'll be lucky this time? validate your assumptions again. This is the task, small. If I have to, just because I made the biryani very good yesterday, there is no guarantee I will do it today as well. I will have to see that today the chicken may be more tender, or it may be more soft, or the rice may be better, it may not be this thing. Everything in life, every second of your life is the first second of the rest of your life. Every day in your life is the first day of the life that is left. Start it like that. So yes, there is this thing, then the speed. And they say that, well, when if I walk very fast. If I speak, I speak very fast. I think that if you can, even if there has been an intelligence leak and your adversary has come to know about it, by the time he analyzes it, by the time he understands it, if you have got a speed, you have got to defeat him by days or by hours or by minutes or seconds. He will get you, but he reached there only a couple of minutes later. You're out from there. So be fast to hit and to quit. So speed is
that is
important.
very relevant to what we are.
Don't get into too much of a procrastination and this thing like that. It's a speed. And secrecy, of course, is a part of this profession, but I always believe that you must have the ability, that is, you can articulate, you can mix, you can talk, but you will always be able to, the vital secrets must be kept this thing. So ultimate security, which becomes a lifestyle over a period of time, that is, you remain a secretive person. So I think that are the things that in which the operational work that I have done, and which I feel that the others feel that there have been a certain amount of what they call is an S4, that there is a surprise, there is a speed, there is a secrecy, and then there is a solo. So it is the thing that.
Sir, you said something very, very interesting about speed, secrecy. So it actually evolves from psyche also, what kind of psyche a person has developed over a period of time. So would you like to share with us few events in your life which has actually helped you develop this psyche?
Well, there is no event which I manufactured or which I planned that it will affect my psyche. The things that you plan, they don't affect your psyche because you planned for it. Things that affect your psyche is something that happened and you have not planned for it, and then leave a mark. If I recall, I think, in a way, I had little troubled childhood. My father was an army officer, and I was born as a son after his this thing, the whole family. I was the son after a gap of, say, 40 years. And I had a lot of boys, and then I had sisters. So I was very pampered. And my grandfather and my mother and everybody felt that way. So I became a very pampered child. To some extent, a spoiled child, as it happens. So my father sent me to a boarding school. So I went to a military school. I was about 8 years that time. So I left my home at the age of 8, and I went to, at that time it was known as King George's Royal Indian Military College, later became King George's School, and now it's known as a military school. That is when these things in my life, from the coziness of the house to the loneliness of a boarding house, I developed a psyche. I used to weep for long hours after it was dark because you were sleeping alone. But soon I learned, in this life you have to be alone. And you have to find your pains, your pleasures, your comforts, it's all in you. So I became a loner, which I remained and which suited my profession. But it also made me this thing that I am responsible for whatever I do. If I get beaten up by the other students, it is because I have not been able to manage them well. And if I got this thing like this, so that is the first event in my life, which when I see in the retrospect, that is, gave me this thing that if I have to do a thing, I have to do it alone. I have got to be self-dependent. And everything that I do, I am responsible for. Everything that happens to me, nobody else is responsible for that except me, good or bad. I have got to bear the consequences. The second was that school had a very strange motto, which still is, they have not changed it. It's a very, very old school, the military school, it has got still. Play the game. They used to think that, well, it's more important that, the students were brought there in very young age. They must learn to play the game and inculcate certain qualities which come through this type of game. And every child was allotted some game. So I was in the Chetwood house in this thing, and then when the selection started for this thing, some people were taken for football and some for hockey and others. I was this thing for boxing.
Boxing.
It's a very interesting story. Anyway, school level, everybody plays, so I was also there. I was a reasonably good school time boxer and everything. But he was also my house teacher and also these things. He told me one day a story. He said, do you know why I selected you for the boxing? This thing? He said, you have got a very unique quality. I was, of course, at that, when you are very young at the age, nobody knows who will be tall, who will be short. So all are short of this thing only by small inches or half inches, something like that. So you don't have this thing. He said, that is, you never accepted a defeat. When we are beaten up and you are beaten up, you will never come out of the ring. Even when you are bleeding, even when you are this thing, you will continue. Not that you were the best fighter, but you had great resilience. I will win the war, not because I'm the strongest, but I will not quit. I can wait, prepare myself, and wait for years and years. And he said, that is what I thought, that psychologically a boxer's quality, that is, you would stay in the ring up to the last round. Even when you have lost the rounds, even when you have been beaten up, even when you are bleeding. He said there were much better boys who could be this thing. But moment they got one or two of the jabs or something like that, etc., thereafter, they just wanted to quit. Or this thing like that. You kept on getting beaten up and things like that, but you stayed there. Over the period of time, you learned the trick, so probably you started winning also. It was a great this thing. And he said that, well, it's a quality, not good or bad. But remember that this is your strength. If you can hold in the face of adversity for a long time. That's why my tenures have been very long. I went to Northeast, I was there for 7 years. I went to Pakistan, I was there for 7 years. I can hold on. You can torture me for this thing like that, I cannot bear it. I can bear injustice for a long time without losing this thing and others. So I think as a personal this thing, my becoming independent at a very young age and thereafter getting beaten up to understand that, well, you can get beaten up, but you can still win.
So you took the right decision of actually...
No, I don't. There were circumstances.
Yes.
As I said, if you take a decision, it cannot affect your psyche. You know, if I decide to do something, I prepared myself. My mind, reasoning faculty has been involved. So it will not, this thing. What happens in life, that changes your psyche. So when I didn't go to this boarding school to change my psyche, but I suddenly realized that mother's comfort is not there. And they're all boys who are all, particularly the boys, when they see a new person, they all are his enemies, till they settle down. To begin with, you have to beat each other. And the one who comes the new one, he's the one who is beaten up by everyone. So we used to have a pyramid. Everybody will bounce on you.
Right.
So it's all right. That is a process of growing because after some time you become the senior. So, but you do not know that how it is going to affect you. But that in this entire world, it is my It's my strength, it is my resilience, it is my patience, it is my this thing. You have got the choice. You can go to the corner and cry. You can run around and go to the housemaster and say that I have been beaten up, and you will tell children not do that. But the next day, when you are going, somebody will put you on an elbow like that. Somebody else will, this thing like that. That will keep on happening. You can't prevent the things that are happening to you. It is not, it is important in life what happens to you. What is more important is how do you respond to what happens to you. I think the nature or circumstances were preparing me, not for what happens to me, that is in the hands of others or the God, but it is preparing me for what, how will you respond when something happens to you like that.